Hey, this is Scott, and welcome back to Man's Mental Load. So, this is my second video here on the channel. Do you remember the song by Supertramp, Take the Long Way Home? Take the Long Way Home. If you're older than 50, 55, 60, you know that song, you remember that song, and it's about a guy driving home, but every night he took the long way home. Why? Probably because he wasn't anxious to walk into a nagging, complaining, fault-finding, Monday morning quarterbacking wife. Kind of like this online creator who I'm not going to mention her name. You know who she is. And it's funny, the last hour that I've been doing research, there have been so many people, this guy JP and other people who have been commenting on her, and even women are commenting on this online creator, over 100 million views, where she says, I was thinking about divorcing my husband, about equality and equity and equality and together and working together. And so take the long way home. Now, I'm going to include in the description here of a link to a video that I saw a while ago where this guy is Indian, and he's asking a woman, is he happy? Is he happy? And she looks like, oh my gosh, I've never considered that. Is he happy? I thought this was about me. And this is kind of what I'm thinking about this online creator who keeps throwing her husband under the bus. And now granted, I think this person is from the Northeast. That says a whole lot right there. This is not a Southern woman. This isn't a woman from Oklahoma or Texas who may traditionally understand and appreciate the traditional roles of a woman. But this woman, I believe, is from the Northeast, and that says a whole lot right there. I guess it's a pretty big snowball to throw, but I said it. So the thing is, what I'm saying is that there are so many people commenting about this online influencer who's telling women, you know, the laundry, the dishes, and he doesn't think, and he doesn't, fill the soap, and he doesn't, and just this constant. And the thing is, no man wants to come home to somebody like that who's constantly, and one of the influencers that I just watched was saying about keeping score. She's keeping score. What things you did, what things I did. And then she complains about just being so overwhelmed. It's like drinking out of a fire hose, how bad it is. The backpacks, the shoes, the brushing the hair, the school forms we need to fill out. And then she was very pridefully saying, I don't schedule his doctor's appointments, and if he needs new underwear, he can blah, blah. Yeah, but occasionally I do nice things, like he has a vinyl collection, and I'll buy him a vinyl. That means a record. Or I may think of something, I may. But man, I've seen a lot of people in my 64 years, but in my life, I've never seen such a bitter, angry, hateful, resentful, selfish person as this online creator, whose name I'm not going to mention. Look her up. All you got to do is Google, woman who throws her husband under the bus. You can see it. And just be careful when you click on it, because now you're going to be getting all her stuff. Now, my best friend says, hey, Scott, and I said, hey, what? Maybe this is clickbait. Maybe she and her husband are kind of in this thing together, and they're just making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars on all these videos. That could be true. Maybe it is clickbait. But man, when you see her and she's looking in the camera, and it seems like she has a whole lot of free time to be making videos, where she's just pouring her heart out, saying, I talked to his mother, and his mother didn't do his laundry, and you shouldn't either. And here's another thing my best friend said. He said, what is his problem in the hours of the day? I mean, okay, yeah, he's a lineman, and he's working, different hours. But what's he doing on the weekends? Is he just watching an NFL ticket? Is he out hunting, fishing, mountain biking, parasailing, skeet shooting with his friends? She doesn't get into those details, that he's just a bum sitting around. But she does get into the details of he's a lineman who's, probably repairing broken electrical lines out in the snow and the rain and the death and destruction. That's not an easy job. That's a very physical job, and you have to have your wits upon you when you're up there on those power lines, making sure the power's off and you don't want to get hurt. You want to go home to your family. But the lack of gratitude in this woman's voice, the lack of gratitude in her eyes, the lack of gratitude in her voice and her attitude, I think that's really what has set me off and has set a lot of people off. Like, number one, why are you pouring this out on social media that your husband isn't XYZ? Why are you pouring it out on social media that a couple of years ago you were thinking about divorcing him? And then you go into all these details about I've known him since whatever, the 8th grade, 12th grade. I've known him a long time. Looks good on paper. He looks good on paper. But then, after and this is the thing she says too, after we had kids. Well, I've said this in my last video. How many kids did they have? No. They're close. You're getting closer. 4 young kids. So what do you expect when you have 4 young kids? It's a lot of work. And it seems like they didn't sit down ahead of time and say, hey, listen, we need to think about this. And I understand people change. People change when they're 18, they're a certain way. When they're 23, they're a different way. There's 33, they're different. 44, they're different. 55, they're different. Men are dealing with certain things, midlife crisis. Women are dealing with menopause. Women are looking at other women to see how they shape up against them. Now, women are spending billions of dollars on makeup. Guys are out there trying to stay fit in some cases. Some let themselves go. But what I'm saying is, if you're a guy out there, just Google this lady, take a look at one of her videos, and you're going to shake your head like I am and say, man, number one, I'm praying for the husband, unless he's in on it. Now, if he's in on it and he's cashing the paychecks, or he's looking at PayPal or Venmo or something, seeing the money rolling in, okay, now fine. But if he's up there on the line and, Bill's in the bucket truck, hey, buddy, do you see the latest video your wife did? And he just like sinks his head like, man, whatever I do is wrong. Whatever I do is not enough. And one of the other influencers on here said, this is more of like a roommate kind of a thing instead of a marriage, where in marriage, you're not supposed to be keeping a scorecard, right? That you should do it. And this friend of mine, his name is Reverend Peter Church. He passed away. But he said the perfect marriage is when each one of us tries to outdo the other one, where the guy's going to go the extra mile to help, and the wife does the extra mile to help. And when that happens, you have a little bit of heaven. That's what he said. But this lady's keeping score. He doesn't pack the lunches. He doesn't, make sure, about the laundry going from the washer there. He doesn't. And can you imagine this guy coming home every night to a woman is nagging, complaining, and bitter, and 90 million, 100 million people have seen her throwing him under the bus? I messaged her and I said, there are 5,000 other women minimum that would love to be married to your husband. You know what she said back to me? Well, you're insecure. An insecure man would say that. And besides that, the rate of women who die in childbirth is worse than a lineman being killed. Let me say that one more time. I messaged her and I said 5,000 women would love to be married to your husband. And she messaged me back, well, the rate of people dying in childbirth, and I've had 4 children, the rate of women dying in childbirth is a greater rate than men who are linemen getting killed. Man, I'm praying for this guy. But he may be cashing the checks. I don't know. This is Scott, Man's Mental Load. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, share with your family and friends. Let me know what you think.